There's more than one way to be Black, and that's why we want you to feel seen. Redefine Black, it's all about making it your own. So that's why Redefine Black presents Talk Black to Me, the podcast. Tune in. Welcome to another episode of Redefine Black presents Talk Black to Me. Today's special guest is Janel Young. Janel is a Pittsburgh native based in Chicago. She's a painter, muralist, community leader, and on a mission to inspire through creativity and play. And she is also the founder of JY Originals. Thank you for being on our show today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so excited to do this interview. So, you have done some amazing things. You have been commissioned to do work locally in New York, all the way to Sydney, Australia. You have painted basketball courts in your hometown. You have a day named after you. Like, you have done so much. So, let's get into it. How have you really started your creative journey, especially as a full-time creative, making money? I did read your bio. You have been a creative like all your life, but you have transitioned to a full-time creative.
Absolutely. It's funny because when people ask me that question, I sometimes hardly know where to start because the lines are so blurred, right? So, um, while I was working in corporate in New York, um, I was kind of dipping my toe into like the art space. I would do some like smaller group shows and meet other artists who were peers. I started volunteering with some different arts organizations and things like that, just really to like get inspired for myself. But what that ended up doing was igniting something else in me that wanted me to like push further and further. So for a while, I was apprehensive about even just selling my work or like being commissioned to do things, even if they were small. But then I started, opening up a little bit. I started taking some commissions. I started like an Instagram that was separate just for my art, stuff like that. It was like those really small steps. So then I was kind of feeling like at one point I was doing both. I was known as like, you know, this artist girl who also had a corporate job.
Mm-hmm.
um, I think, you know, the thing that propelled me really like mentally was when I got accepted into the art show in Australia. I was still working my corporate job. And then I was like, oh shit, like how, sorry, can I curse?
Yeah, it's fine.
But I was just like, oh my God, like, how am I gonna, go across the world and do this show and then like come back to this office? Like it seemed a little crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I was fortunate that I was kind of in a position in my career and like at that company that I had a little weight to it. So, I was able to say, like, I need 2 weeks off, like paid vacation. I'm going to go do this show. I'm going to travel a little bit, do this and that. And when I got back to New York, I was like, okay, I think we need to take ourselves a little more seriously when it
Yeah,
comes to the art thing if you really want to do it, right? So that was like the mental step. And then even after that, I think it still took me almost another year to actually like leave my job.
yeah, you got the
Um
taste of freedom, but still like the security of a job and like what was
yeah.
taught. Like, oh,
What?
yeah.
Okay, healthcare, okay, paycheck,
Mm-hmm.
like, it was all the things. So, it was definitely planned like when I left, but my journey, I tell a lot of people, it's not linear. It didn't go like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen and then this is gonna happen and like it didn't work like that. I had the intention of like fueling myself creatively, filling my own cup back up, and then like going back out into the job market in a few months and finding something that was just a little bit more fulfilling than what I was doing at the time. But that plan actually didn't work because I ended up getting hired by a mural company that I was volunteering with.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, and that was crazy. So then I said, okay, well, I'll do this for a little bit. And then like that turned into like a year and a half. And it was fun. It was fun. I was meeting like amazing people and artists who I still keep in touch with, and like learning so many different things, techniques, and all of that. So it was just like this community of people who took me under their wing, and I was able to like also provide them with the services that they needed as an artist. And I think after the first year of doing that, I realized that this was like possible for me to really, really do it.
I think
Um,
I think you even saw like once you really stepped out and like stepped out on faith and went after something you really want, like look how it worked for you. Like even when you
yeah,
said
like
you were gonna go back, it's like, no, no, I got you. Watch.
like all the steps, just like everything just fell into place, like just how it was supposed to, just how it needed to. Um, yeah. So I mean, that's kind of like how the beginning of the journey went. I think, after that, it was all about how much I could push myself and like what confidence I had.
Hmm.
So I stayed in New York like another year and a half. So that made a total of like almost 6 years. And then I was traveling back and forth between there and Pittsburgh. Then I got the basketball court project in Pittsburgh was happening. And I was actually finishing up a project in New York City when I got the call to say, like, oh, the funding came through. Like, are you ready to come home? And I'm like, oh boy. So I went to go do that project. That was the fall of 2019. And after that, of course, I rewarded myself with some travel.
Why not?
And soon as I came back from travel, like COVID-19
Yeah.
hit. And so then I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to stay in Pittsburgh. I stayed there for a while. I was very reluctant to do that because I was like, oh, but New York, but New York. But I ended up um, getting an artist residency in Pittsburgh that was like 95% remote.
Wow.
And it had all of the same like benefits that I had at like a corporate job.
Yeah, why not?
So,
And during COVID too, like.
and during like it was like the craziest thing. So again, steps were ordered
Hmm.
and things fell into place. And I was able to like utilize that network and tap into like work that was already being done in the local Pittsburgh communities to like elevate my artwork and my I guess like notoriety as an artist, or like so people, even like some people didn't even know I lived in Pittsburgh again, like just trying to like rebuild my brand and get those, roots really under me. That's yeah, that's how that kind of went and how it happened. And I stayed there about, I guess, 2.5 years maybe. I was back home. And then yeah, my fiance got a job in Chicago, and so we made the decision to go ahead and plant new roots again. So
So starting
it's
again,
like,
like you
it's
said.
starting again. But again, it's like I've seen the process of how this works and how things do fall into place if you put yourself out there.
Mhm.
So that's all I've been, focusing on and trying to do. And it's been working so far.
And that's going to help your name. Like you said, you've been seen in Pittsburgh, Australia. Now you're going to get known in Chicago. Who knows what's next, you know? It's just like endless
Exactly.
possibilities. So, how did you even become like a muralist? I know, like, a lot of people paint, but there's like
Yeah.
different sectors of painting. Like, how did you fall into that niche?
So it's funny because kind of if I work backwards, it might actually make more sense
Okay.
for folks. So professionally, how I got into it was volunteering with the New York City Mural Arts program. They just have like these paint parties for the community where anybody can come out and paint, and they needed volunteers to like help facilitate that. And I was like, oh, this is cute, fun, like hang out in Brooklyn, summer
Right.
day, like, help some
Creative
people paint.
outlet. Yeah.
Yeah, like it was cool. Music, food, all that kind of stuff. So I was able to see one form of muraling. One technique is called polytab, or like parachute paper. And that's basically when they have these huge panels of like really flexible canvas, or you could also think of it as really strong paper. But they have like these panels of it laid out on tables, and they're basically a whole bunch of puzzle pieces that will then be painted and go up to be installed onto a wall. So I was helping with that process of like the first iteration of painting the panels. And then once I like understood the process and was like seeing how it was going to come together, I was like, man, this is pretty cool. So I like volunteered at another thing, and then they called me to like help somebody out at a studio. It's all the same technique, but just different artists. And I was like, huh, this is really interesting. So shortly after that, when they, just had some like deeper conversations with me, and they're like, oh, like you are an experienced painter. Like, I think we could use somebody like you, to be on our project. So that's how I got the job there professionally. Now, if we rewind a whole lot of years, because by that time I was like, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
Much longer before that, when I was in 7th grade, so I went to a creative and performing arts middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. 7th grade and then 8th grade as well, I was actually selected to be on part of a mural painting team at my school.
Wow.
That was cool because I don't think I would have ever like dreamt that up that it would happen that way. But yeah, I got really into painting. One of my teachers, she really liked, my technique and how like precise that I enjoyed being. I blame that on my Virgo life, but she thought it would be a good opportunity for me. So she selected me to be on part of this team, and we would work together to come up with a design. We would plan it out. We would go like do a site visit where we were going to paint. And then like every Tuesday of every week, we would basically go on this like field trip to go paint for the whole day.
Wow.
So that was my first
like introduction.
Real like, okay, I have autonomy over this. But if you back up even more,
okay.
Apparently my parents and like my grandma, they put me in some church program when I was 6. And it was a group of kids that were supposed to be working on a mural together. And of course, we're so young, so like we had a lot of help and mentors and other artists there. But one of the professional artists was a friend of my grandmother's. And he became a great mentor to me. But I didn't know what I was doing at the time, but I have all the pictures to prove that what we were doing was putting a mural together. And so later on, when I was older, I found out that this man, his name is Mr. Michael, that he was like a really big part of how that all came together. And he was telling me that I had a huge part in the design itself and like painting, which I didn't remember. Like I remembered like what it looked like, but I didn't remember like coming up with the concept. And he was like, no, really, you did. And I was like, that's crazy. So I've been doing murals since I was 6. That's a long answer.
Yeah, but that's like a full circle. It was just like innate to you, like just natural. You don't even remember it because it's like this is what I do without even knowing it.
Yeah, I think there are certainly things that triggered me to be like excited about doing big work again, because that long break between, being like 13, 14, 15 to being 25, I still was making some art, but it was all like very small or like on canvas or like whatever. And then, something wanted to go bigger. So I made it happen.
I want to give you your flowers now because everyone doesn't take that leap of faith. And I'm so happy that you did because it's definitely paying off. And even how you explain the mural process, because I always look at it or I see people like paint, I'm like, they're so close. How do they get it to look good? Like, you just see them up close, but then the whole thing comes together and you're like, wow, this looks so good. How do they make it happen? But okay, I see the little pieces and steps, but still, you guys have to be brilliant and have an eye to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, like I tell people all the time, like that's only one way to do it. There's 100 ways, you know what I mean, that you could do it. And I think that's the cool part about all of this is like I'm still learning different stuff every day, even though I've been doing this full time for 6 years.
Wow. And so, yeah, you're overall creative. Like when you're not painting, how else do you get inspired to be creative? Like I know you like sports, sneakers, you do different colors to your hair. Like
All of those things, yes. Yeah, like me and my hairdresser are totally in a battle right now for like what color is next. Yeah, I love to do fun stuff just with my expression, how I dress, how I mean, I know I'm in black right now, but when I actually decide to, get dressed and go out in these streets, I do love like some colorful braids or like a neon sneaker, like literally anything. And now that I'm in Chicago, I have a lot of really fire jackets and coats that feel kind of artsy. But as far as like, where I can go to grab inspiration, like honestly, sometimes like a nice long walk is all I need. Like some days just walking through the park or the trails. The scenery here is really nice. So that's when it's not freezing. So that's cool. Yes, working out and playing sports. So I used to be on a volleyball, like an adult volleyball league, on a team in that league. But 2 years ago, I got hurt playing, so I haven't played in a while. But I'm hoping that like I can get back to that at some point. Yeah, just solo dates anywhere, a museum, or like sometimes watching like a random documentary or something. Just stuff like that. Like anything that can kind of open up your mind a little bit and stretch it, but also to the point where it doesn't have to like directly impact anything that you're doing, right? Because it's kind of just flowing through you. Yeah, those are all like pretty good options.
and with that inspiration, I would say a lot of your work is more colorful. Like why did you decide to go that route, or how did you come to like make that type of work, which is beautiful?
Thank you. That's just a natural thing to me. Like I have always been, I think it's just like my personality. I would love to believe that my aura is like a whole bunch of colors just splashing around. um yeah, like I've always loved bright, bold. It's just I think it's a confidence thing. It's a joyful thing.
That's beautiful. People need a lot of joy.
Yeah, like there's already so much gray and blandness happening out here. That was one of my things about like a place like a New York or even a Pittsburgh. Like Pittsburgh's a very gray city generally. It's known for being industrial, right? It's known for the steel mills, and it's cloudy and gray like every day. So it's like it's the more color, the better.
Right.
And I believe that about almost everything.
I agree too. It does change like your mindset, no matter what you're doing going into. If you get this like glimpse of like oh, like this color, it just warms your heart and your soul. So
yes, like I mean, we could totally go all into the psychology of color and the connections to each of them and what what it evokes out of us. But I think, yeah, there are some people who are naturally drawn to it, and I like to make the realization, which is kind of funny, that, I'll be, like when you're looking for, a way to redecorate a room or something, you're on Pinterest and you're like, oh, this minimalist thing is so cute. And like, I tried that aesthetic before and I was like, oh my God, this isn't me at all. This is boring. Like I was trying so hard to be like, oh, let's do like a cute little simple. And I was like, no, I love color. Like I need, like my couch is going to be blue and we're going to have orange pillows and
I love it.
We're going to make art that ties it all together. I don't know.
I think that was for me too, living in New York, because people wear black so much. I'm like, oh, I need some color. I mean, it looks good on y'all, but I need some color in my life. So I'm gonna have orange is my favorite color. I'm gonna have an orange, pink. I'll do neutrals too, but gotta throw some color in there.
Yeah, just a little splash, a little something. Yeah.
I do have a question. So if you wanted to give advice to a young artist or even an older artist or somebody finally wanting to go after their dreams, like what advice would you give them and what resources could they possibly reach out, especially if they want to be like a painter?
Man, just believe that you can. That's like the first thing. A conversation that I had with someone before I was really like telling people I was an artist. I believed I was someone who made art. And they said, well, no one else is going to believe you're an artist until you say you're an artist. So just say it and then you'll become that. So I think that's step one. Then I do have a scholarship that I'm so grateful and, blessed that I'm able to kind of contribute to my community in this way. So every year I give away $1,000 to an individual. This is for more of the younger artists at this time. I really hope and believe in my heart that one day I can do like multiple age ranges. But right now where we're at, okay, we have one for the youngins. So I would definitely say check that out. The applications open in the fall on Janel Young Day every year in October. And you can find all the information about it on my Instagram or my website, which is it's www.janel-young.com. And if you're looking specifically for the scholarship stuff, it's just /scholarship. So, yeah, I mean, that's two really easy ones. Let's see what else. Honestly, like go out in the world and like look at art. Like go look at paintings and understand what you like and why and like what you're attracted to. What might inspire you to create something. I think you really have to like dig deep because we're kind of in this age where there's like so many things you could learn or so many directions you could go. And I'm not saying that you have to hone in on one thing because you can do multiple and be good at them. I think it's just a matter of like understanding where you are with all your options. Like maybe, we focus a couple months on learning about this or this technique, and then we focus a couple months on this and like experiment, like enjoy that whole thing, right? Like play around, make something that you hate, like make something really ugly, make something that you really like and then accidentally mess it up, like all the things. Go through the whole gamut. Like look for free art classes in your area. Like in Chicago, there's like the Hyde Park Art Center and they have like free programming, different things like that. So get your Google on, find something that interests you. Like even if it's like, I would say even if you're like, oh, I want to be a painter, but I think that working with clay would inspire me. Do it. Like, don't, you know what I mean? Like, understand that all of this stuff will come together eventually inside. So, yeah.
And like, I guess, especially when you're starting, you never know what you're really good at or what you really have a knack for until you try. And
That's
then, like
absolutely
you said,
right.
you can draw inspiration from everywhere, taking a walk. going to a concert, anything. So like, yeah, explore those options. So I did mention this earlier, and you did mention it as well. So you have a day named after you, Janel Young Day, in Pittsburgh. Yay! So let's just talk a little bit about that, like how that come about. It's almost like getting a key to the city. So
it was a surprise to me. I had no idea that it was happening. So the kind of backstory is that when I went home to do the basketball court, I called it the Home Court Advantage Project. It's in the Belt-Super community, which is where I grew up, predominantly Black community. And like most places, it's one of the neighborhoods where we don't get a lot of things first. We're not the first priority for the city to be thinking about, for the mayor to be thinking about, for anybody to be thinking about. But this basketball court was very special to me because not only was it, you know, kind of in my backyard, but like I literally grew up playing basketball there. Like that's where I learned how to play, which was a big part of my life, you know, growing up, being in sports. But also I was able to get people in the community, like residents and peers and kids and all these people to like contribute to the project in one way or another, whether they're volunteering for painting, whether they you know, helped pick the color palette of the design, whether they came to the community meetings, they let me interview them, like all these different things, right? So that made it super special. And the funding came from essentially through a long weaving way of like working through a lot of people. I ended up being presented with the funding from some folks from the city. So I think it was both a win for the community and a shiny object also for the city to say, hey, we're gonna like really support this positive thing. And they were like, yeah, like let's do a ribbon cutting and let's have the mayor speak and let's do all these things. And I was like, okay, like I'm cool with making it a big deal. That's what's up. You know, like we'll take the shine. And then somebody got up there and started talking and they were like, oh, and we have this proclamation. And in my head, I'm saying, don't they only do those when they're like naming something after? And then I was like, well, maybe they'll name, you know, the street like after the court or after, you know, like I don't know. I was not sure what it was gonna be, but like as I'm listening, and then they're like Janel Young Day, and I'm like, what? Like that is the last thing that was on my mind. Wow. It was a really cool moment. It was a very special moment. My family was there. You know, just the shock on my face, because apparently like other people knew and I didn't know. So
that's a great surprise.
That's how it happened. It really is an honor, and I wanted to celebrate that every year in some way by giving back, and that became the scholarship.
And what day is it exactly?
It's October 23rd. Yes.
Remember that, everyone, October 23rd. Well, congratulations. That's a big honor as well. And I'm sure, like, as you just continue in the future, you'll receive more awards, maybe more days, more things named after you. Who knows? Like, it's up there. I'm putting it out there so it can happen.
Thank you.
But yeah, I just really appreciate like how much you poured into yourself. You're also trying to pour back into other people and inspire them. Even with your artwork, I know a lot of your artwork does focus on, you know, Blackness too. And that's important, you know, in this world we live in. We need to see representation of us. So thank you for that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But yeah, before we go, do you have any other advice or lasting words you want to give to the audience?
I just want people to make things that they like make something that you like, make something that you love. I know that we get really caught up with doing things for other people, but don't forget to do it for you too. You don't want to lose your fire. You don't want to lose your spark. And, I saw something recently that was just a reminder, like, even if you're not posting your creations or even if you're not creating every day, you are still a creative person. And I believe that about everybody, not just artists. So, yeah, use your talents for whatever good you can. Yeah.
And as you continue, how do you push yourself to every day get up and be a creative? Like you said, even if you're not posting, but you're still doing work, like how do you just continuously push yourself?
Well, first I actually started honoring like rest and my body and what it's telling me to do. It's okay to have a day to do nothing. I had to learn that. And now I'm so comfortable with it that like I dare people to interrupt my day of nothingness. But I honestly just like remind myself like that this is something that I hoped and prayed for a long time, like to be able to get up and do this, like because it's not easy. You know, you're always up against something, whether that's people, an organization, a deadline, yourself, like whatever it is, you're up against something. But I fought to be in this position and in this spot and to have this type of creative liberty. So I have to do that responsibly. Yeah. Yeah. Be
That's
grateful.
beautiful. Yeah, we can't ask for it and then take a back seat to it. Like
exactly. It's like, oh no, we're here now.
Yeah.
We are here.
You would be a dishonor to yourself if you didn't.
Right.
So before we go, I ask every guest, I say Black is, and then you fill in the blank of what Black is, whatever comes to mind. Okay? So Black is
original.
Oh, I like that. But also, again, yeah, before we leave, thank you again for coming on, spilling some words of inspiration. But where can people find you if they want to learn more, commission work, learn about the scholarship? Just
Absolutely. As far as socials, I am most active on Instagram at jy.originals. And again, my website is janel-young.com. And then, yeah, you can find my contact, my email, all that kind of stuff through either one of those channels. I do also have a YouTube if you want to like check out the type of work that I do. And that's also jy.originals. So.
Yep. And she has merch on there too. If you want to buy something, support, donate.
All the things.
Yep. All of it.
I'm wearing one of my favorite shirts right now. And it says creators have bills too. Because nice. We deserve to be paid. So
we're not doing starving artists anymore. Like no.
At all. Okay.
So yeah. So yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this talk. And yeah, I look forward to seeing everything, in your future, near and beyond.
Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Want to stay up to date with Janel? Be sure to follow her on Instagram at jy.originals.com and check out all her latest work and what she's been up to. Then head over to her website, janel-young.com, to learn more about her, commission work, buy merch, or even apply for the scholarship she offers young people every fall who want to grow in art. And if nothing else, just show her some love. Tune in next week for an all-new episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcast or on YouTube.